Welcome back to the show. Joshua Gortler was 3 years old when his family was forced to flee their home in Poland during World War II. They spent years running across borders, at times barely escaping the Nazis. The family would then spend years in the Displaced Persons Camps, learning to survive. Finally making it to America at age 15, Gortler started over. And in his new book, Among the Remnants, he shares why he considers himself fortunate.
What I really remember more than the labor camp itself, I remember leaving the comfort of my home, Poland, Tomaszów, Lubelski, close to the 1600s when our family goes back.
Wow.
Jews on Tomaszów moved in the 1600s, and it's interesting, not only today, but in 1945, Tomaszów is Judenrein. There are no Jews. The only Jews you can find in Tomaszów are those that are buried under the ground in the cemetery.
The difference between life and death for your family was just a matter of days. You left Ravaruska, but what happened to the Jews that stayed there?
It's really a miracle that I'm here today with you to talk to you.
Oh.
Because, as you said, it was a matter of seconds, moments, that there was life and death. And we were forced to leave Ravaruska to Siberia. The Germans again reoccupied Ravaruska, and every Jew that had to dig trenches, had to go inside, they were all killed, and those that survived were sent to an extermination camp, a place called Belzec. Everybody was annihilated.
Tell me again how your family ended up leaving.
We were lucky. We were loaded as the Russians moved out of that particular part of Poland. We went with the Russian army and shipped out the Jews as slave laborers to Siberia. We survived.
Unbelievable. What does that mean to be a displaced person? What was that like for you? You were a teenager at the time.
In 1945, the war is over. My parents have chosen to go back to our homeland. When we returned to Tomaszów again, we expected a welcome. That was not the case. Our home was reoccupied by Polish neighbors, and they did not welcome us back. They just said, "What in the world are you doing here? Hitler didn't take care of you yet enough." So my parents had a vision before we went east, north to Siberia. Now we are traveling west to Germany, and we find refuge in the first Displaced Persons Camp in Berlin. I went to 3 different DP camps. And remember, I'm now 11 years old, uneducated. I had no idea how to read Hebrew, how to read the Latin alphabet, what we use today. 11 years old and completely uneducated. Zero. And also, the first time I looked at a fork, I had no idea how to use a fork. Last time I used a fork, I was 3 years old. We had one spoon, a wooden spoon, all the time when we were in Siberia and in Tashkent. And now I have to be re-educated. It's like someone who came out of the woods.
How has that impacted your outlook on life?
I became a passionate individual. I became an educated individual, and I devoted my entire professional career in helping others. So the DP camps were a remarkable place for me. My experience in the DP camp is gain knowledge, have concern for others, and there's a Jewish expression that is known as Tukan Olam. Each and every one is born, and it's that person's sort of obligation to leave this earth in better condition than they found it.
It is so beautiful to hear you say that, especially after everything you went through. I mean, you even referred to yourself as a fortunate Jew.
You know, there are people who, after the war, in the DP camps, who gave up religion totally, who felt that there is no God. If there would have been a God, he could have never let these type of atrocities to happen. He would have never let people be burned alive. It's interesting, I do not use the term Holocaust survivor. The term remnant is referred to in the Old Testament in many places as those who were left over and came back from the ashes. Just came to me as we are talking. We were resettled in Phoenix, and the term Phoenix, the bird, has a tremendous metaphor.
Yes.
Came out from the ashes, and perhaps this is my life, the Phoenix, and perhaps it was God's will to resettle me in Phoenix.
I think that's a fantastic metaphor for your life, Joshua, that you are a phoenix rising from the ashes. You've written this book to share your story and quite frankly, to share hope. Why is it so important that we keep talking about this today?
There is a time to talk and there are times to be silent. And what I see, what's happening to the Jews around the world with anti-Semitism, I feel it is a time for the few of us. I was a child that I left. There's a movement of Holocaust deniers. Unfortunately, we see that the venom of anti-Semitism is spreading again in Europe and in the United States.
Is that why it is so important you continue to speak out, especially when it comes to talking to youth in schools?
Absolutely. I feel a commitment. I do about 10 to 15 talks a year in schools. I do 2 talks a year in juvenile prisons. I tell those young men and women that they have it hard, they have it difficult. Look what I went through and look how I turned out. They have the same ability if they put their mind and soul to it. I feel that every child that I could help is a child and a human being saved.
Wonderful mission. We're so grateful that he shared his story.